Wave rider, you got one thing on your mind. Yeah, yeah, I'm saying wave rider, you got one thing on your mind. Breakfast with Bob, breakfast with Bob.
Poncho Man, how about Poncho Man? We are presented by EA Sports Nutrition, Cliff Bar, Timex, Roca, Tanya Puta, Rudy Project, and we're on Slow Twitch. Our guest, I am a huge fan, Mr. Sonny Garcia, one of the top surfers of all time. Sonny, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Hardly recognize you. You have become a thin man.
Yeah, working on it. I figured, wanted to run a little faster. The only way to do that is to lose weight.
Yeah, mass of the ass. That's what it comes down to.
Trying.
So talk a little bit about your surfing career. 16 years old when you knocked off Tom Carroll.
Yeah, that till this day, everyone asks, what's the biggest thing? Beating Tom Carroll in my first professional event was huge. I mean, that's all I heard about Tom Carroll, how he trained and how powerful he was, and I watched all his videos.
Yeah.
And to actually come up against him in my first event, I was like, man, I'm going to kill this guy.
Was that in Hawaii?
Yeah.
So on home turf as well?
Yeah, no, and I had just won an event 2 weeks prior to that at that particular spot, so I had it down, and I was like, there's no way he's going to beat me here.
Did he know you?
No.
No idea. So you totally took him by surprise.
Yeah. So,
love that. What did he say to you afterwards?
Yeah, I think he was bummed. I don't think he had much
to say. So talk about your career. I mean, you made over $1 million as a pro surfer. We're talking Triple Crown of Surfing 6 times, 2000 world champion. You had a really, really decorated career, but also you had a really long career.
Yeah, I watched, my motivation, I guess, was I watch a lot of my older friends retire at a pretty young age.
Yeah.
And then, sponsors always say, well, we're going to take care of you. You retire, you can go on surf trips and all that kind of stuff. And I watch all these guys retire and not be taken care of. So, they always gave me that advice, man, just run it as long as you can. And here we are. I mean, I started in '86 and I'm 45 now, and I'm still surfing events.
Well, and when you win your first big competition when you're 16 years old and in 1986, and then you win the World Championships 14 years later. I mean, surfing's one of those, sort of like triathlon. The lifespan is fairly short, and usually by the time you've been into it 14 years, you're not winning titles anymore.
I think, with the athletes nowadays, I think, back when it was just so many events and, the grind, it wasn't so much that they weren't capable of winning at an older age. It was just, tired of, doing the same thing. And now, the athletes take care of themselves and take breaks and train hard. And, with that, I mean, you can extend your career a lot longer. I mean, look at Kelly Slater. I mean, he's only 2 years younger than me, and he's still winning events.
Well, in '95, you were third behind Slater and Rob Machado at Pipeline Masters. And at that point, did you change in terms of becoming fitter as an athlete to compete?
Well, I lost the world title by one heat that year.
Yeah.
And that was a heartbreaker, so it took me a little while. I was almost at that verge. I was 25. I was like, maybe I had a good career and I won't get another shot at the world title. Yeah.
You're 25 years old and you're like, my career's over.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking back then. But, I got into training and I started eating good, and all of a sudden I was feeling good. And, in 2000, I remember being in Australia and telling my friend, not to be conceited or anything, I feel like I'm the best surfer right now, and there's nobody going to beat me at 30. And
which is ancient for a surfer.
And that was like the week before the tour even started.
Yeah.
And then I went on. I won the first 2 events, and everything else was just cake.
Being able to be competitive as an older athlete, it takes basically 24/7, right? You have to watch everything you eat. How did you have to change your training?
Well, in 2009, I went and bought me a bike.
You got yourself a bicycle.
Yeah, and I just started riding from Sunset Beach up to Dole. I think it was like, the route I was doing was like 40 miles. I would get up every morning at 4 in the morning. I'd ride 40 miles on the bike. I'd come back and run 6 miles, and then I would go for a surf. So
you weren't training for triathlon?
No, I had no idea about triathlon yet. And And then my trainer was like, we're gonna do this race, Lava Man here with
Right.
you and BJ.
Olympic distance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I'm gonna die. There's no way I could do that. And she's like, you riding 40 miles and running 6, all you gotta do is swim. And
yeah.
And so me and BJ started talking. I started coming up here and helping BJ with his swim, and we started, training together. And, I was like, got back into that whole competitive thing. I'm like, okay, if I swim, I know I can beat BJ on the swim. I'll probably be even on the bike, and then he'll catch me on the run.
Right.
So, and that was the case. I swam as fast as I could. I biked as hard as I could, and then I got to the run. I couldn't even run. I walked the first 3 miles. I was dying, and then I got to the halfway point, and BJ hadn't caught up yet.
Yes.
So I started running, and sure enough, BJ was right there, and he's like, "I'm catching you!" and I took off, and I took off,
Yeah.
and I ended up beating him by 5 minutes. So, and I was hooked.
So you at that point,
Yeah.
because there are not that many surfers who become triathletes.
No, the only other surfer that I know is Clint Kimmons.
Okay.
And he was on tour with me, and then all of a sudden he was doing triathlon, and he's actually really good. So I have some inspiration of following in his footsteps, because he's a friend of mine. He's a little young, well, a lot younger than me, but
Right.
it's still good to see him doing really well.
As you've gotten into triathlon, has it helped your surfing?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't get tired, and being from Hawaii and being a surfer, I mean, most surfers don't like to train.
Right.
So with triathlon, there's no such thing as not training. I mean,
That's the sport. The sport is training.
You train every day. So, my lifestyle changed. I mean, every day I get up and, I bike, I run, I swim. So I'm constantly doing something. So it's helped me in the sense where, I can show up at any event, even after not surfing for a while, and be completely fine.
As a professional athlete in one sport, when you move into another sport like triathlon, what surprised you about this sport? Was there anything that surprised you about it?
How terrible I was at it.
How terrible you were at it.
Till this day, I mean, I always thought that I was a good swimmer.
Yeah.
And, after swimming in a few triathlons, I realized that I'm terrible at swimming. I mean, I'm strong and I
Right.
don't get tired, but my form is terrible. So much people swim faster than me.
Yes.
So it's a lot of humble pie. I mean, to watch people go swimming by you is pretty bad. And
Especially when
for
you're
being competitive.
you're best in the world. It's
Yeah.
one thing. Yeah.
And then, the bike, I'm going as hard as I can up a hill, and, some guy that's 70 just blazes past me. I'm just like, wow. So, it's humbling. So, but in the same sense, I really like triathlon because everybody's so nice and everybody's cheering. And it's different because it's surfing, everybody wants you to lose, and, it's competition. And here I see the best in the world coaching each other and
Yes.
training together. So it's refreshing for me.
Well, it's basically you against the course,
Yeah.
right? And we help
Yeah.
each other
Yeah.
get through the course.
Yeah, so it's been fun.
Going from doing that first triathlon to actually training seriously and deciding that you wanted to try the Ironman Triathlon World Championship, take us through that process. When did you decide that I want to go longer here?
I came here in 2013
Yeah.
and watched Ironman, and I walked to the finish line, and I was hearing, my friends like, you got to hear this. When they call your name, and he's like, imagine in a couple years it'll be Sonny Garcia, you are an Ironman. And we're listening to that, and I was like, wow, that sounds pretty cool. And seeing the emotion, everybody coming across, I was like, man, I gotta get one of these.
You want a little piece of that.
So and not just anywhere. I wanted it to be here in Hawaii and in my home. So it's gonna be great. I'm gonna enjoy everything and try not to let the wheels fall off before I get to that finish line.
What seven? You've done a half, a 70.3.
Yeah.
Which one?
I've done Honu twice. I did Oceanside earlier this year. So, I felt pretty good. Last year, Honu was like 7 hours and 24 minutes. I was hurting. This year I did in 6:05. So,
Wow.
huge improvement. And I feel good for here. I mean, I like the heat. I like surfing in the waves and swimming out in the ocean, so I feel pretty comfortable. I know that the ride out to Hawaii and the wind and everything, the wind doesn't bother me, so
You're a strong guy.
Yeah, so I'll be fine.
When you look at, there's a lot of people in this island, these islands, who look up to Sonny Garcia. Seeing you do something like this, embracing endurance sports, I bet it sort of surprises them.
For me, I'm just hoping that a lot of the kids watch and actually follow in my footsteps.
Yeah.
Because training for any sport, doesn't matter what you do, is pretty important. And we have a lot of really young, talented kids here in Hawaii, and we lose a lot of that talent to, alcohol and drugs and, just falling off the face. So, the best way to, deal with addiction is find a good addiction.
Right.
And
nothing better
training.
than this.
I mean, doing triathlon, what a great addiction to have. I mean,
You're too tired to do anything wrong.
Yeah. By the time nighttime comes around, at 9 o'clock, I'm in bed.
You can't go out to the bars and hang out.
No, I mean, you have to get up early in the morning and train. So, I love what I do now, and my life's so much better just from being part of the triathlon community.
It's great to have you part of this world. So, biggest waves you've ever surfed in?
As big as they get.
Really?
As big as they get.
20 footers?
20, 30 feet. I mean,
20, 30
when
foot.
Waimea's closing out, we're
Do you get
going
scared?
out. Yeah. But it's a good scared.
It's
yeah. And with El Nino and seeing the whole forecast, I'm pretty excited. I mean, I'm in the best shape of my life right now, and we're going into what they say might be one of the biggest winners. So I'm looking forward to it.
Like you said, you are in the best shape of your life, and you're 20. You were 16 when you first started the whole surfing thing. As an older athlete now, what would you tell the younger Sonny Garcia if you could go back in time a little bit?
Train harder.
Train harder.
When I was young, I remember them telling me to train. I didn't train at all. All I did was surf.
Natural talent.
Yeah. So, had I done half of what I am doing now, I probably would have way more world titles. Kelly would have less world titles for sure.
And you'd have more.
Yeah.
Love it. Sonny Garcia has been our guest. Again, this is Breakfast with Rob, presented by EAS Sports Nutrition, Cliff Bar, Timex Roca, Tanya Puta, Rudy Project, Slow Twitch, and Poncho Man.
Woo! Wave rider, you got one thing on your mind. Yeah. Wave rider, you got one thing on your mind. Breakfast with Bob and brother Sonny Garcia.
Yeah!